Hello car partners, welcome to another episode of Maintenance Motorway. Today we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people ask us about. Today we're going to try to address the question of how far can this fuel purchase really take me? Because people ask us the question all the time. Sometimes I notice that when I purchase from maybe station A, it lasts longer than if I purchase from station B. So we're going to try to address those questions here in this video. When you purchase fuel, typically in most countries, you don't get 100% fuel. There is 100% fuel, but it's more expensive. When you try to purchase fuel, there's always ethanol mixed in the fuel. So the real push for ethanol comes from environmental considerations. There's a big push to reduce greenhouse effect and basically try to control the effect that carbon dioxide is having on the environment. So over here we have E5, which basically just means that there is 5% ethanol and 95% actual fuel, and E10 is 10% ethanol and 90% actual fuel. A lot of cars actually run on E85, which basically is 15% actual fuel and 85% ethanol, and so on and so forth. E100 is just 100% ethanol. A lot of you guys that have the performance vehicles and the exotics and things like that, usually you put some kind of V-Power in them or some kind of mobile Synergy Plus in them, some kind of high octane fuel. Typically you would be asked to put, from the manufacturers, they will tell you to put nothing less than 91 octane in there. Okay, now looking at ethanol, it has an octane number of 113. So most of you guys that have those performance vehicles, if you really want to boost your vehicle's performance and you don't really care about the mileage, you can look into trying to use ethanol. But mind you, here you have to make sure that your vehicle can actually run on some kind of ethanol, or you can have a conversion kit, and get somebody to professionally install that for you, where you can kind of install them in a vehicle and enable you to use this high octane ethanol here, which is about 113, which is much higher than what you'd even put for a V-Power. So ethanol is not all bad, except for the fact that it doesn't give you as much mileage as regular fuel would do. So there's an experiment that was run for the Koenigsegg CC-XR, and they actually tested it with two different fuels. One was no ethanol fuel, and that got about 850 horsepower. And I believe the other was actually not E100 like I have here. I think it was E85, and that got it 1,000 horsepower. So kind of showing that the effect of the ethanol with the high octane here played out really well here. Almost about 150 horsepower difference, which is really the horsepower, complete horsepower of some vehicle. 150 is a pretty decent horsepower for a regular vehicle. The other good thing about ethanol production would typically boost agricultural jobs. The other thing is lots of great environmental benefits when you use ethanol. Now let's look at the bad side of ethanol. One of the things about ethanol is it's very, very volatile, and it has a lower energy content per volume compared to actual fuel. Okay, so what that means is that the more ethanol you have in your fuel blend that you buy from the fuel station, the less mileage you will get. So if you feel like you're buying fuel from somewhere and the mileage you are getting is lower than buying fuel from another place, then you might want to figure out how much ethanol might be in that fuel that you're buying. If the ethanol is, say, E15 compared to some other place which is E5, then you will know straight away that you're going to get more mileage for your vehicle using the E5 than the E15. Okay, so that's something you can kind of think about. If you look over here, I was talking about E15 not being approved for cars before 2001. So if you have 2001 vehicle and you're buying ethanol from a place which is actually E15, you might be doing your vehicle some damage. Typically, ethanol is very corrosive, and it can have some impact on the rubber seals through the corrosion process. And ethanol also obviously takes a lot of land, because you're going to have to grow all this corn and basically process all this corn into ethanol, which can then be mixed with the fuel. So this is basically just a small overview of the effect of ethanol on your engine. Over here you see I have some water, okay, and I also have some fuel. I'm going to do a quick demonstration to show you guys how to figure out how much ethanol is in the fuel that you buy. All right, and that will advise you where to buy fuel. So if you find out that you buy from 3 or 2 different fuel stations and you do the experiment, which is really simple, you don't need much to do the experiment. You do the experiment and you find out that the you have about 5% ethanol or 5% ethanol in your fuel, then you know that you're running on E5. But if you do an experiment for another place and you find another fuel station and you find that you're having 15% ethanol, then you know that if you want to save fuel, then you might want to go with this E5. And if you want to boost your car's performance a little bit or be environmentally friendly, then you can use this E15. Really, this is for informational purposes, and the decision as to whether to be environmentally friendly or to look out for your mileage is entirely up to you. All right, so we're going to do this test to figure out how much ethanol is in this fuel. Get my gloves on. As you can see, I've got some fuel. Okay, I've got some water. All right, and I have a syringe with me. Okay, so this syringe has graduations on it, and it's basically, if you look at the graduations, it's 10 milliliters, 50 milliliters, and 20 milliliters. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. So first thing I want to do is to draw 10 milliliters of fuel. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, and next I want to draw 1 milliliter of water to take it to 11. Okay, so let's go get. Okay, so instead of 11, I do 12 milliliters of water. I will just adjust my calculations accordingly. So next, what I want to do is to give this a good shake. Just let it sit for a few minutes. So remember, instead of drawing 1 milliliter of water, I drew 2 because I was not so accurate in drawing the water. So I'll adjust my calculations accordingly. All right. Okay, so we're gonna give this about 5 to 10 minutes to settle down, and we'll come back and take a look. So we started off with 10 milliliters of fuel and 2 milliliters of water, and now we only have 9 milliliters of fuel, as you can see in this column up here. Okay, so what that means is that there was 1 milliliter of ethanol in the 10 milliliters of fuel, which has gone to mix with the water. Okay, so what that tells us is this fuel that I just tested is E10. So let's do a quick math here. All right, so if you remember, we started off with 12 milliliters of solution, and which was basically 10 milliliters fuel. 10 milliliters fuel and 2 milliliters water. Okay, now after the experiment, we only had 9 milliliters of fuel left, which means that 1 milliliter of ethanol had mixed up with the water. Okay, now so if we take this 1 milliliter as a percentage of the 10 that we started off with, that is 10%. Okay, which tells us that we're testing E10. Okay, now those of you guys that want to try this experiment, I recommend it. It will give you some ideas and some information as to what kind of fuel you're getting from wherever you buy fuel, and perhaps it can inform your fuel buying decisions. We hope this helps you guys, and if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you for watching, and as usual, don't drink and drive, don't text and drive, and always practice public driving.